This woman is a fraud. She set up a small stall at the train station where she collected money to help illiterate people write and send letters. But in fact, she never actually sent those letters. Instead, she took them home, opened them, and shared the contents with her best friend. She would tear up any letters she didn't like and keep the ones she thought were good in a drawer. Despite having her stall for so long, she hadn't sent a single letter. If anyone asked why they never received a letter, Dora would blame the Brazilian post office. This money-making scheme had almost no costs at all. One day, a mother and son came to her asking if yesterday's letter had been sent. She said she would send it after work. They wanted to make changes to yesterday's letter because writing wasn't enough to satisfy the son's longing for his father. They wanted to inform the father to come visit next month. Impatiently, Dora helped them make the changes. Just then, Joshua asked,
Mas mãe, é que você sempre vai botar a carta no correio? Você ainda nem botou a carta no envelope.
Deixe ser mal educado, menino. Não vê que a senhora queria ajudar a mãe?
Próximo.
The mother and son left the station satisfied. But tragedy struck as they were crossing the street. The mother was hit by a car. Joshua became an orphan, having no idea where to go. He could only sit alone in the station waiting room, silently shedding tears. The next day, Joshua found Dora and asked for her help to write a letter, informing his father about the accident and asking him to come as soon as possible. But Dora knew Joshua had no money, so she refused to help him. Joshua could only cry and beg Dora to give him the letter his mother wrote yesterday. However, Dora claimed that the letter had already been sent and impatiently told Joshua to leave. After work, Dora boarded the train back home. That's when she noticed Joshua staring at her with resentment. Dora anxiously looked around. Joshua desperately tried to catch up to the train, believing that his mother's letter must still be with Dora. Joshua, who was already a wanderer like his mother, now had no place to go and could only sleep at the station. The next day, Dora found him again when she came to the station. Perhaps out of guilt, she brought him some bread. But Joshua, determined, refused her kindness. Dora didn't want to deal with him anymore, but after talking with a man for a while, she found Joshua again and acted even more friendly and helpful. Hungry Joshua slowly started to soften. Eventually, Dora took him home and her best friend immediately fell in love with the little boy. They became good friends at the dinner table. Joshua thanked Dora for letting him have a full meal. But then he discovered the drawer full of letters, including his mother's letter. Joshua made Dora promise to send the letters. Dora only half-heartedly agreed. The next morning, Dora took Joshua out early and followed the man at the station to a luxurious apartment.
Vai tudo morar com família rica na Europa, nos States. O Gabiruzinho aí vai ficar cheio do dólar quando crescer.
Joshua realized that Dora was going to sell him and tears streamed down his face. After Dora received $1,000, she left satisfied. That's how Joshua became a brand new television. Dora's best friend noticed that something was off and kept asking her. Finally, Dora confessed, reassuring her friend that Joshua would find happiness.
Você não lê jornal, criatura. Não é adoção coisa nenhuma. Eles matam as crianças para vender os órgãos.
Que isso? Não é nada disso. Eu estive lá.
Ele já tá grandinho demais para ser adotado, Dora.
That night, Dora tossed and turned, the sound of train outside her window like the devil's whisper relentlessly lashing at her heart. The next morning, Dora found many children's photos in the envelopes. She went back to the apartment from the day before and told the woman she still had more children. The woman wanted to go back to the room to discuss it. Dora took the opportunity to sneak into the room and find Joshua. She grabbed him and they desperately tried to escape, but the woman caught up to them. They struggled at the door and Dora finally managed to close the door. The two of them anxiously hailed a taxi. From the window, the woman cursed at them loudly. Dora called her friend, but all she heard was nonsensical rambling, suspecting that the human traffickers had found her home. After that, Dora bought 2 tickets, intending to personally take Joshua back to his father. But Joshua still believed she was a bad woman and refused to travel with her. He took back his mother's letter and went alone to the ticket gate. She looked at the child, stepping into the darkness, alone and lonely. Dora's conscience was once again stirred. Just before the bus departed, Dora caught up to Joshua. They didn't say a word, and in the pitch-black night, the 2 strangers traveled together to an unknown place. In the dim morning light, the bus arrived at a transfer station. The boy saw some shirts in a shop and wanted to make a good impression on his father. After some hesitation, Dora and Joshua both changed into new clothes. Back on the bus, Joshua started to have a different opinion of Dora. He told her his father was his idol, a carpenter who could make anything. But Dora believed that his father must have abandoned them and was probably an alcoholic prone to domestic violence, just like her own father. After her mother's death, Dora left home because she felt that home no longer existed without her mother. That's why she never trusted men and was very resistant to emotions. The scenery outside the window kept changing. Joshua's mind was in turmoil as if Dora's words had struck him. At night, Dora woke up from her sleep.
Olha aí, pessoal. O garoto tá cheio da cachaça, viu?
It turns out Joshua had secretly taken a sip of Dora's drink. Dora scolded him loudly and pulled him back to his seat. After arriving at another transfer station, Dora took the opportunity while Joshua was still sleeping and gave him some money. But Dora's own experiences made her believe that Joshua's mother shouldn't forgive his father, so she secretly took Joshua's mother's letter and also gave some money to the driver to take care of Joshua. Finally, she bought a return ticket and sat in a restaurant, drinking and waiting for the bus to depart. She watched as Joshua's bus left the transfer station, and then she let out a gasp. She went to Joshua and told him not to get off the bus, but Joshua didn't say a word, just silently shedding tears. But there was worse news. Joshua had forgotten to take his backpack with him. Now both of them had no money. The hungry pair watched others eat, longing to satisfy their hunger. Now penniless, they could only watch others eat hungrily. A kind man noticed and shared some food with them. At the table, the man was warm and friendly, and they quickly became engrossed in conversation. The man later invited them to ride in his truck. Joshua asked him how often he went home.
Menino faz essa pergunta pra todo mundo. É que haga.
They arrived at a gas station for unloading. Joshua helped with the unloading using his small shoulders. But as he watched other children eating snacks, his mouth watered and evil thoughts arose. So he stole some snacks. Dora, after finding out, scolded Joshua angrily. She then went to a grocery store and stole some cookies and bread herself, but she was caught by the owner. Fortunately, the driver intervened and saved her from trouble. Back in the car, Dora shared the stolen snacks with Joshua. The man who saw everything didn't expose her. Hearing that Joshua dreams of driving a truck when he grows up, Dora asked the man to let Joshua touch the steering wheel. The man then taught him how to drive towards a bright road. Joshua showed a smile that had been absent for a long time. At night, soft lights illuminated Dora for the first time, who had been cold. They were just chance encounter friends, and it would be difficult for them to meet again after parting. Dora calmly said maybe they don't have to separate. At noon, they arrived at a roadside restaurant. Dora asked Joshua to go play on his own first while she continued to chat with the man. She slowly reached out her hand to the man, but he remained silent, silently watching her. Then Dora wanted to go to the bathroom to sober up. During this time, she remembered Joshua saying that she didn't even wear lipstick, which is why she couldn't get along with men. So she borrowed someone else's lipstick and applied it. However, when Dora returned to the restaurant, she saw the man's car driving away in the distance. Dora leaned against the windowsill and burst into tears. This blow made her more convinced that men could not be trusted and only Joshua was there to comfort her. On the rest of the journey, they continued to hitchhike and soon arrived at Joshua's father's home, a deserted pasture. Joshua ran all the way, eager to see his father. However, the residents there told them that Joshua's father had already moved away. Holding the letter, they sat on the roadside in the small town helplessly. They were now penniless, couldn't continuing their journey. But when Joshua saw many people who believed in deities, his eyes lit up. He approached them and asked if they needed to write letters to gods or family members.
E a senhora escreve?
É só R$1.
After setting up a small table, they started their business. Joshua worked hard in front of the booth, attracting people who wanted to write letters to deities. The people here were extremely fanatical in their beliefs, to the point that everyone's faces were filled with happiness. By the evening, they had earned a lot of money. They played and laughed along the way. Joshua gave Dora a dress as a gift, and they took a photo together on the roadside. They no longer had to sleep on the streets and checked into a hotel. Joshua threw those letters in the trash like Dora used to do. Suddenly, Dora stopped Joshua's action. She wanted to send the letters. The earnest desire for a better life and the deep longing for loved ones touched her deeply. At night, they lay in bed and chatted, finally relieved of their exhaustion after the long journey. Dora kissed Joshua's forehead firmly. The next day, they continued on their journey by car. They arrived at a neatly arranged small town where every house looked the same. On the way, Dora asked Joshua if he remembered what his father looked like.
Tem hora que eu lembro. Depois desmancha na minha cabeça.
Afterward, Dora said he will forget her in the future. Joshua instantly panicked because he didn't want to forget Dora.
Você vai me esquecer.
They arrived in front of a house, supposedly Joshua's father's new address, but a stranger came out. The stranger told them that Joshua's father had already disappeared without a trace. Hearing this, Joshua left in melancholy and Dora hurriedly went to his side, telling him that if he didn't have a family, he could consider her as his next family.
Você não quer vir comigo, hein? Moleque. Eu gostaria. Você sabe. Eu gostaria muito.
And so the Twilight witnessed their oath. They arrived at the station and asked about train schedules to prepare to go home. At that moment, a person approached. He had heard that someone was looking for his father, so he came over to ask about it. It turned out he was Joshua's half-brother. They also had another brother. They all knew about their younger brother Joshua. After their father went missing, the two of them moved away and opened a small shop to continue their carpentry business. Then the elder brother took out a letter left by their father and asked Dora to read it. The letter revealed that after their father's first wife passed away, he got together with Joshua's mother. However, when Joshua's mother was pregnant, she went to Rio and their father went to look for her. After that, he disappeared without a trace. In the letter, their father asked about the whereabouts of Joshua and his mother. He had someone help him write the letter, believing that they must have found their new home. But he was still in Rio looking for them. He would come back immediately. The whole family, including 3 children, would live together. No one knew whether Dora's words were true or false, but Joshua firmly believed that their father would come back. The elder brother had already been filled with tears. That night, Dora changed into the dress that Joshua had bought for her and put on lipstick. Dora remembered that Joshua said she looked good with lipstick. Then she placed the letter written by Joshua's mother on the table. She felt like she was personally sending the letter out. Finally, she quietly walked out of Joshua's house. This is his home now. The thin mist in the distance was dreamlike, slowly turning white. Dora walked towards the direction where the sun would rise. At that moment, Joshua suddenly felt a strong connection in his heart. He woke up and searched for Dora, but she was nowhere to be found. He quickly ran out of the house and headed to the station. Joshua ran barefoot and desperately as Dora boarded the bus. As soon as she got on, the bus immediately started, giving Joshua no time. Dora, who had written countless letters for others, had never written a letter for herself. At this moment, she sat on the bus and began writing her first letter to Joshua. Dearest Joshua, you were right. Your dad will definitely come back home. I remember my dad was a truck driver. He would let me, a little girl, honk the horn. When you drive a truck for the first time in the future, don't forget, I was the first one who let you drive. If you want to remember me, take a look at our photo, but remember, never come looking for me. Your true home is with your older brothers. Tears streamed down Dora's face. Joshua was like the morning light, illuminating her. This journey not only brought Joshua the warmth of finding home, but also opened up Dora's cold heart. Dora and Joshua's journey began at night and ended at dawn. This movie holds a special place in my heart. I remember watching it in high school. It was the first Brazilian movie I ever saw. The movie beautifully depicts how people who have lost their sense of identity rediscover themselves. The scenes of people asking Dora to write letters were real. When the crew finished setting up the scene, locals approached Dora to ask for help writing letters, oblivious to the fact that a movie was being made. The director kept those genuine moments in the film, making it even more authentic.